And we are going in depth on safety in Colorado schools and what's being done to keep your kids safe. Good evening. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Karen Lee. For weeks now, we have continued to cover the frustrations from East High parents. They have formed now an advocacy group demanding Denver schools take action after two deans were shot at East High. In that case, the student who pulled the trigger was under a safety plan, and the deans were searching him as part of that plan. Well, just yesterday, CBS News investigator Kati Weis brought us her report on the number of students deemed a high threat in Denver schools. So far this year, staff have conducted threat assessments on 361 students. 68 of those were deemed a high threat level. Kati once again joins us tonight, continuing this discussion with all of us. And Kati, we understand many of these students undergo pat downs as part of that safety plan. Now, these are also carried out by administrators, not school guards.
Yeah, Karen, faculty at some schools in DPS tell me that campus security guards who are not cops are allowed to do the pat-down searches of students deemed a high-level threat, but that school faculty are being asked to do these searches more often. Many teachers and administrators tell me that shouldn't be their job, especially given what happened at East a few weeks ago.
Are deans trained with how to respond to someone pulling a gun on them?
Brian Clark is a parent of two students in DPS. He agrees with many teachers and faculty that educators shouldn't be conducting pat-down searches of students deemed dangerous.
I mean, these should be occurring in an isolated location, not by a school administrator.
So I asked the district's student safety coordinator, Dr. Jane Linneman, about the policy.
I've had lots of teachers express to me concerns like, why is this acceptable? Do you see it as acceptable?
I don't know if it's necessarily the question of whether it's acceptable or not. I think what you might be receiving in some feedback is typical response after a crisis incident occurs. Everyone has a range of emotions and a range of questions, and in the absence of a narrative, we tend to build a narrative, which I think is what we're seeing in the media a lot of times. So for that particular inquiry of like, is this appropriate, is it or not, I don't know if it's really an authentic question. I think it's more reflective of a crisis response of people looking for answers. That's what we do whenever we have big emotions.
We found of the more than 1,000 students currently enrolled in DPS who have been assessed for threats, 151 of them were a high threat level, meaning the student had the potential to act violently on the threat and there was an identified target. Linneman says the district trained staff regularly on how to manage those threats and carry out safety plans designed for each student.
We also do continuous professional development in our district with all educators around how to identify if there's a concern, how to engage with students, how to build relationships, how to implement plans, how to monitor those outcomes, which I think are all reflective of the success of our students in our district.
Now, we obtained hundreds of pages of district training documents about how these threat assessments are assessed and handled. The documents show items staff should be mindful of when they're conducting these pat-down searches. For example, the staff member conducting the pat-down should maybe be the same gender as a student. But there doesn't appear to be much guidance on what to do if a pat-down search goes wrong, or what to do if a student pulls a gun on a faculty member conducting that pat-down search. Karen?
Kati, we appreciate all of your work on this. Thank you. And if you did not catch Kati's previous reports on students deemed a high threat level, you can catch it right now on our streaming website, cbscolorado.com.